disgust me. Get out of my sight!
Victoria Owens made one critical mistake. She underestimated the help. As Luna of Shadow Peak Pack, she had everything: status, wealth, a powerful mate. Everything except what she actually wanted: freedom from the twin sons who'd ruined her perfect body and stolen her husband's attention. So she decided to eliminate the problem. Poisoned vitamins, a deadly illness called silver fever, a convenient alibi at a 5-star hotel. She thought she'd covered every angle, but she forgot about Elisa Payne, the invisible Omega nursemaid who loved those boys more than their own mother ever could, the servant who would burn her own life force to keep them breathing. And when the Alpha King came home to find his mate's betrayal and his sons alive against all odds, Victoria learned a brutal truth. You can lose everything in a single moment. Especially when the woman you tried to destroy turns out to be your replacement. Like this video right now, and subscribe if you're ready to watch Karma absolutely destroy someone who deserves it. This villain's downfall is chef's kiss levels of satisfying. Chapter 1. The First Symptom. The nursery wing of Shadow Peak Estate was supposed to be filled with laughter. Instead, at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday in late autumn, it echoed with the sound of labored breathing. Elisa Payne pressed her palm against 4-year-old Theo's forehead and felt her stomach drop. The child was burning up. Not the normal warmth of a wolf pup's accelerated metabolism, but something else entirely. Something wrong. "Shh, sweet boy," Elisa whispered, brushing his dark curls away from his sweat-soaked face. "I've got you." Theo whimpered in his sleep, his small hand clutching the edge of her worn cotton uniform. In the adjacent bed, his twin brother Oliver tossed and turned, throwing off his blankets despite the chill in the room. Elisa had been the night nursemaid for 6 months. 6 months of invisible existence in the grandest pack estate in the Pacific Northwest. She was an Omega, the lowest rank in the werewolf hierarchy, with no family name worth mentioning and no wolf of her own. Her job was simple: keep the Alpha King's sons fed, clean, and quiet. Stay in the shadows. Don't make trouble. But tonight, trouble had found her anyway. She grabbed the thermometer from the medical kit on the dresser, one of the few supplies she'd been given. Her hands shook slightly as she placed it under Theo's tongue. "Come on," she murmured, watching the digital numbers climb. Just be a normal fever. Just be normal." The thermometer beeped, 104.3 degrees Fahrenheit. Elisa's breath caught. That was dangerously high, even for a wolf pup. She moved quickly to Oliver's bed and checked him too. 103.8 degrees. Both of them. Both sick at once. She glanced at the ornate clock on the nursery wall. The Luna, Victoria, had left for the evening around 7, dressed in a glittering silver gown that probably cost more than Elisa earned in a year. She'd mentioned something about a charity gala in the city, 2 hours away. She wouldn't be back until dawn at the earliest. The Alpha King, Gordon Hanson, was in Vancouver negotiating a territory treaty. He'd been gone for 3 days. Elisa was alone with 2 feverish pups and no idea what to do. She pulled out her cell phone, a cheap prepaid model, and scrolled through her contacts. The pack doctor's name was there, Dr. Edwin Howard, but she'd never called him before. She wasn't sure she was even allowed to call him directly. The hierarchy was strict at Shadow Peak. Omegas didn't disturb important wolves unless it was an emergency. Was this an emergency? Theo's breathing hitched, and he coughed, a wet, rattling sound that made Elisa's chest tighten with fear. Yes, this was an emergency. She dialed the doctor's number. It rang 4 times before going to voicemail. "Dr. Howard, this is Elisa Payne, the night nursemaid. The twins are running very high fevers, over 103 degrees. They're coughing and sweating heavily. I think they need to be seen right away. Please call me back." She hung up and waited, her phone clutched in both hands. 5 minutes passed, then 10. No call back. Elisa tried the pack hospital next, but the night receptionist told her all the doctors were handling a multi-car accident on the highway. They'd send someone as soon as possible, but it might be hours. Hours. These babies didn't have hours. She looked down at Theo, whose lips were starting to take on a faint bluish tint at the edges. Oxygen deprivation. His little body was fighting something and losing. "Okay," Elisa said aloud, trying to steady her racing heart. "Okay, we can do this." She filled the bathtub with lukewarm water, not cold, that could send them into shock. Gently, she lifted Theo out of bed and carried him to the bathroom. He was small for his age, all skinny limbs and big brown eyes that looked so much like his father's. "I know, baby. I know it's uncomfortable," she soothed as she lowered him into the water. And Theo whimpered but didn't fight her. She repeated the process with Oliver, who was more alert and grumpy about being woken. "Don't want a bath," Oliver mumbled, his voice thick and raspy. "Just for a few minutes, Ollie. It'll help you feel better." She sat between them on the cool tile floor, one hand on each small shoulder, keeping them upright and safe. The water would bring their temperatures down, at least temporarily. Her phone buzzed. She grabbed it, hope flaring, but it wasn't the doctor. It was a text from the Luna's personal assistant, a beta wolf named Tammy Sanders. "Luna Victoria will be staying in the city tonight. 5-star hotel. Do not disturb her unless the estate is literally on fire." Elisa stared at the message. The estate might not be on fire, but the Alpha's heirs were burning from the inside out. She typed back, "The twins are very sick. High fevers. Should I contact the Luna?" The response came quickly. Luna Victoria left explicit instructions. "Handle it yourself or wait for Dr. Howard. She has an important brunch tomorrow morning." Elisa's jaw clenched. She wanted to throw the phone across the room, but instead she set it carefully on the counter. "It's just us boys," she whispered. "But that's okay. I'm not going anywhere." After 20 minutes in the bath, their temperatures had dropped slightly. Elisa dried them off, dressed them in clean pajamas, and tucked them back into bed. She gave them children's fever reducer, the kind she'd bought with her own money because the estate's medical cabinet was always mysteriously empty. Then she pulled a chair between their beds and settled in to watch over them. By 4 a.m., Theo's fever had spiked again, 105.1 degrees. Elisa called the pack hospital again. This time, a tired-sounding nurse told her they'd sent their report to Dr. Howard, but he was currently in surgery and couldn't be interrupted. "What about the Luna?" the nurse asked. "Can't she authorize emergency transport?" "The Luna is unavailable," Elisa said, the words tasting bitter. There was a pause on the other end of the line. "I see. Well, keep them hydrated. Monitor their breathing. If they have a seizure or stop breathing, call 911 immediately." Seizure. Stop breathing. Elisa's hands went cold. "Okay," she managed. "Thank you." She hung up and looked at the 2 small boys who had, over the past 6 months, become the center of her world. She'd been hired to care for them, yes, but somewhere along the way, it had become more than a job. She loved them. She loved their terrible knock-knock jokes, the way Oliver hoarded toy cars under his bed, the way Theo always asked her to sing the moon song before sleep. They weren't hers by blood, but they felt like hers in every way that mattered. "I won't let anything happen to you," Elisa whispered, reaching out to hold both their small, hot hands. "I promise." Outside the nursery window, the sky began to lighten with the first gray hints of dawn. Somewhere in the city, the Luna was probably sleeping in 1,000 thread-count sheets, her phone turned off. And here, in the shadows where Omegas belonged, Elisa prepared to fight for 2 lives that no one else seemed to care about. Chapter 2. A Mother's Refusal. By the time the sun fully rose, Theo's condition had worsened. His breathing came in short, shallow gasps, and his skin had taken on an alarming grayish pallor beneath the fever flush. Oliver was slightly better, but his temperature stubbornly refused to drop below 103 degrees. Elisa hadn't slept. She'd spent the night rotating between cool compresses, hydration attempts, and increasingly frantic internet searches on her phone. Everything she read terrified her more. High fevers in wolf pups, respiratory distress, possible causes, pneumonia, influenza, or something worse. One search result made her blood run cold. Silver fever. It was a rare supernatural illness that affected only werewolves, particularly young ones. The symptoms matched perfectly: high fever resistant to normal treatment, respiratory issues, grayish skin tone, and the most terrifying detail: without proper treatment, it could burn out a young wolf's ability to shift, leaving them permanently disabled. Or it could kill them outright. The article said silver fever required specialized treatment from a pack healer or a powerful alpha's energy to combat it. It said the illness fed on weakness and fear. Elisa looked at her hands, small and unremarkable. She was nobody. She had no power, no status, no wolf of her own to lend strength to these babies. But she had to try something. At 7:30 a.m., the nursery door opened. Elisa looked up hopefully, but it wasn't Dr. Howard. It was Victoria Owens, the Luna of Shadow Peak pack, and she looked absolutely furious. Victoria was breathtaking in the way a winter storm was breathtaking, beautiful and dangerous. She had pale blonde hair that fell in perfect waves, ice blue eyes, and the kind of bone structure that belonged on magazine covers. This morning, she wore a cream-colored cashmere outfit that probably cost more than Elisa's entire wardrobe. "What is the meaning of this?" Victoria demanded, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. She held up her phone. "I have 17 missed calls from you in the hospital. 17, Elisa. Do you have any idea how embarrassing it was to have my brunch interrupted?" Elisa stood up from her chair, her exhaustion making her sway slightly. "Luna Victoria, I'm so sorry to disturb you, but the boys are very sick. Their fevers are extremely high and Theo's breathing is... It's a cold," Victoria interrupted, not even glancing at the beds where her sons lay. "Children get colds. Oh, that's what immune systems are for." "With respect, Luna, I don't think this is just a cold. I think it might be silver fever." Victoria's perfect face twisted into a sneer. "Silver fever? That's a myth, Elisa. An old wives' tale to scare young mothers." "But the symptoms—" "I don't pay you to diagnose my children," Victoria snapped. She finally looked at the twins, and something flickered across her face. Annoyance, maybe, or inconvenience. Certainly not concern. "They look fine to me. A little warm, perhaps, but nothing that warrants this level of hysteria." Elisa's hands clenched into fists at her sides. "Theo's temperature was 105 degrees an hour ago. That's not fine, Luna. That's dangerous." Victoria pulled out a compact mirror and checked her reflection, smoothing an invisible hair. "You're overreacting. It makes you look incompetent, frankly. I hired you to take care of minor issues like this without bothering me." "Luna, please, they need to see Dr. Howard." "Dr. Howard is expensive," Victoria said, snapping the compact shut. "And his services are for actual emergencies, not every time these boys sniffle. Do you have any idea what it costs to run this estate? The pack treasury isn't unlimited." Elisa stared at her, momentarily speechless. The estate had a wine cellar worth millions. Victoria had purchased a new sports car just last month, but medical care for the Alpha's heirs was too expensive. "I could take them to the pack hospital myself," Elisa offered, "just to be safe." "Absolutely not," Victoria said coldly. "The last thing this family needs is rumors spreading that the Alpha King's sons are weak or sickly. But it makes Gordon look bad, which makes me look bad. You will handle this here quietly with over-the-counter medication if necessary." "But Luna..." Victoria stepped closer, and Elisa instinctively took a step back. The Luna's eyes had gone hard and glacial. "Let me be very clear, Omega," Victoria said, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "You are replaceable. There are a dozen girls who would kill for this position. If you cannot handle 2 children with a simple cold without creating drama, then perhaps I should find someone who can." The threat hung in the air like a blade. Elisa needed this job. She had no family, no pack of her own to fall back on. Getting fired from the Alpha King's household would make her virtually unemployable anywhere else. She'd end up in the Rogue Lands or worse, but looking at Theo's labored breathing, and at Oliver's flushed face, she knew she couldn't just do nothing. "I understand, Luna," Elisa said quietly, "but could I at least have permission to purchase stronger fever medication? The children's formula isn't working." Victoria waved a dismissive hand. "Use your own money if you're so concerned. The household budget is allocated for the month." Your own money, for the Alpha King's children. Elisa swallowed the bitter words that wanted to escape. Yes, Luna. Good. Victoria checked her phone. I have a spa appointment at noon and dinner plans tonight. I trust you won't need to disturb me again? No, Luna. Excellent. Victoria started to leave, then paused at the door. She looked back at the twins with an expression Elisa couldn't quite read. For a moment, she thought she saw something like regret, or maybe guilt. But then Victoria's face smoothed into cool indifference. And Elisa? If anything happens to them, it's your responsibility, not mine. I left them in your care. The door clicked shut behind her. Elisa stood there, trembling with a mixture of exhaustion and rage. The Luna had just ensured that if these boys died, the blame would fall entirely on the Omega nursemaid, not the mother who refused to help them. A small, weak voice came from Theo's bed. Elisa? She rushed over, kneeling beside him. I'm here, sweetheart. Theo's eyes were glassy with fever. Is Mama mad? Elisa's heart cracked. No, baby. She's just busy. She didn't even look at us, Oliver mumbled from the other bed, his voice thick with congestion and something that sounded like hurt. She's worried about you, Elisa lied, smoothing Oliver's hair back. She's just not good at showing it. Oliver was 4, but he was sharp. He looked at Elisa with eyes far too wise for his age. You're lying. Mama doesn't like us. That's not true. She never holds us, Theo whispered. Not like you do. Elisa felt tears prick her eyes, but she blinked them back. These boys needed strength, not her breaking down. Listen to me, she said firmly, taking both their hands. You are loved. So loved. And I'm going to take care of you, okay? Whatever it takes. Promise? Theo asked. I promise. After the twins fell back into a fitful sleep, Elisa checked her bank account on her phone. She had $247 until her next paycheck in 2 weeks. Rent was due in 5 days, and she still needed to eat. But there was a 24-hour pharmacy 3 miles away. She grabbed her jacket and her wallet. Before she left, she sent a text to Tammy, the Luna's assistant. Going to pharmacy for the twins. We'll be back within the hour. The response was immediate. You're not authorized to leave the estate during your shift. Elisa stared at the message, then looked at the sleeping boys. She typed back, noted. Then she walked out anyway. The pharmacist looked at her with pity when she bought the maximum strength children's fever reducer, electrolyte solutions, a humidifier, and every immune-boosting supplement she could afford. The total came to $193. She had $54 left to her name. As Elisa walked back to the estate in the cold autumn air, carrying plastic bags full of supplies she'd bought for children who weren't hers, she made herself a promise. She would save them, even if it cost her everything. If you're already furious at Victoria, hit that like button and subscribe, because her downfall is going to be absolutely epic. Chapter 3. The Hidden Poison. 3 days passed, and the twins weren't getting better. If anything, they were deteriorating. Elisa had converted the nursery into a makeshift medical ward. The humidifier ran constantly, filling the air with moisture to ease their breathing. She'd pushed their beds together so she could monitor both boys at once. Every 2 hours, she checked temperatures, administered medication, and tried to coax water or broth into them. Oliver had stopped eating entirely. Theo had developed a cough that sounded like broken glass rattling in his chest, and the Luna hadn't visited once. On the 4th morning, Elisa was changing Theo's sweat-soaked sheets when she noticed something that made her stomach drop. His fingernails had a silver tint to them, a metallic sheen that definitely wasn't normal. She grabbed her phone and searched. Silver discoloration wolf pups. Every result pointed to the same thing. Silver fever, confirmed. The articles all said the same thing. This wasn't just dangerous, it was potentially fatal. The silver was a sign that the illness was attacking their supernatural essence, the wolf spirit inside them. If it progressed much further, they might never be able to shift. Or worse, their human bodies would reject the dying wolf inside them, causing catastrophic organ failure. Treatment required either a powerful alpha's direct energy transfer, a specialized pack healer, or, in rare cases, the healing bond of a true mate. Elisa had none of those things. She was still staring at her phone when it buzzed with an incoming call. Dr. Howard, finally. "Hello?" she answered, her voice hoarse from lack of sleep. "Ms. Payne, I'm calling about the twins." The doctor's voice was clipped, professional. "I received your voicemail from several days ago. I apologize for the delay, but I've been handling emergencies." "They're worse," Elisa said immediately. "Much worse. I think it's silver fever. Their nails are turning silver and—" "I'm aware of the diagnosis," Dr. Howard interrupted. "I spoke with Luna Victoria this morning. She's declined a house call." Elisa felt the world tilt. She declined, but they're dying. There was a long pause. When the doctor spoke again, his voice was carefully neutral. "The Luna has expressed that she believes this is a minor illness being blown out of proportion. She's concerned about unnecessary medical expenses and doesn't want to create panic within the pack." "This isn't panic.
This is reality." Elisa's voice rose despite herself. "Doctor, please, you have to see them. I'll pay for it myself if I have to." "Ms. Payne, I can't override the Luna's decision. She's the mother and the ranking pack member present. Legally, the medical decisions are hers to make. But the Alpha King is unreachable in closed treaty negotiations," Dr. Howard said. "I'm sorry. My hands are tied. Continue monitoring their symptoms. If they have a seizure or their breathing stops, call emergency services immediately." He hung up. Elisa stood there, phone in hand, shaking with rage and helplessness. The Luna had blocked medical care. She'd actively prevented the doctor from helping her own children. Why? What kind of mother did that? Unless Victoria wanted them sick. Or worse. The thought was so horrifying that Elisa immediately tried to push it away. But it lingered, ugly and persistent. Victoria had never wanted children. Everyone on the staff knew that. She'd complained throughout her pregnancy. She'd hired a nursemaid before the twins were even born and had barely held them since. But to actually want them dead? No. That was too monstrous, even for someone as cold as Victoria. Elisa returned to the nursery where both boys were sleeping fitfully. She sat in her chair between their beds, took each small, silver-tinged hand in hers, and closed her eyes. She wasn't a wolf. She had no supernatural abilities. But she had something else, a fierce, protective love that had grown over 6 months of late-night stories, scraped knees, and whispered secrets. "Oh, please," she whispered to whatever gods or moon spirits might be listening. "Please help them. I'll do anything. Take my strength, my health, my life if you need it. Just save them." Nothing happened. No magical glow, no divine intervention, just the sound of labored breathing and the humidifier's steady hum. But Elisa felt something shift inside her chest, a warmth, small and stubborn, that she couldn't quite explain. That afternoon, Tammy appeared at the nursery door with a message. "The Luna is hosting a dinner party tonight," the assistant said, not quite meeting Elisa's eyes. "Important pack members and potential political allies. She needs the estate to be quiet. Can you keep the twins subdued?" Elisa stared at her. "Subdued? They're sick, Tammy. They're not being loud on purpose." "I know." Tammy looked uncomfortable. I'm just relaying the message. Maybe extra medication to help them sleep? You want me to over-medicate dying children so they don't disturb a dinner party?" Tammy flinched. "I didn't say that." "But that's what she means, isn't it?" The assistant looked away. "I have to go. Just do your best." After she left, Elisa checked on the twins. Theo was awake, staring at the ceiling with glassy eyes. "Hey, buddy," Elisa said softly, sitting on the edge of his bed. "How are you feeling?" "Tired," Theo whispered. "Really tired, Elisa. Like I can't wake up all the way." "I know, sweetheart. Your body is fighting hard right now." "Am I going to die?" The question, asked so simply by a 4-year-old, nearly broke her. "No," Elisa said fiercely, pulling him into a gentle hug. "No, you're not. I won't let that happen." "My wolf is sad," Theo said into her shoulder. "I can feel him. He's crying."
Elisa's eyes burned with tears. If Theo could feel his wolf's distress, that meant the illness was affecting both his human and supernatural sides. Time was running out. "Your wolf is strong," Elisa told him. "Just like you, and I'm going to help him feel better, okay?" That evening, while the Luna entertained guests downstairs with champagne and catered food, Elisa sat in the nursery with 2 dying boys and made a decision. She couldn't wait for permission anymore. She couldn't wait for Dr. Howard or the Alpha King or anyone else. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through her contacts until she found a name she'd hoped never to use. Andre Schneider, a rogue healer who operated outside pack law. He was expensive, unregulated, and rumored to use questionable methods. He was also her only option. She sent a text. "I need help. 2 wolf pups with silver fever. Can you come to Shadow Peak Estate?" The response came 5 minutes later. "Shadow Peak? That's Alpha King territory. I'm not welcome there. Please, they're dying. I'll pay whatever you ask. My fee is $5,000. Elisa's heart sank. She had $54. "I don't have that much. But I'll find it. I'll work it off. I'll do anything. Please." A long pause. Then, "Send me their symptoms." She typed out everything: the fever, the silver nails, the weakening wolf spirits, the breathing problems. "That's advanced silver fever. Very serious. They need alpha energy or a mate bond to heal properly. I can stabilize them, maybe buy you a week, but I can't cure them. A week is enough. The Alpha King returns in 4 days. Meet me at the service entrance at midnight. Come alone. If pack security stops me, the deal is off. Thank you." Elisa looked at the twins. 4 days until their father returned. She just had to keep them alive for 4 more days. She could do that. She had to. Chapter 4. The Sabotage. Midnight came slowly. Elisa spent the hours before Andre's arrival monitoring the twins obsessively, checking their pulses, their breathing, their temperatures. She'd left a note on the nursery door. "Twins sleeping. Do not disturb unless emergency." It was a gamble, hoping no one would check on her during the healer's visit. At 11:45 p.m., she slipped out of the nursery and made her way through the darkened estate to the service entrance. Her heart hammered against her ribs. If she was caught bringing an unauthorized person onto the property, she'd be fired immediately, or worse. But the twins' silver-tinged fingernails flashed in her mind, their weakening heartbeats, the way Theo had asked if he was dying. She'd risk anything. Andre was waiting in the shadows outside the door, a tall man in his 50s with graying hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. He carried a worn leather medical bag. "You're Elisa?" he asked quietly. "Yes. Thank you for coming." "Don't thank me yet. Show me the patients." She led him through the servant corridors, avoiding the main halls where security cameras watched. The nursery was silent except for the twins' labored breathing. Andre approached the beds with practiced efficiency. He examined Oliver first, checking his eyes, his pulse, the silver discoloration spreading from his fingernails up to his wrists now. Then Theo, who barely stirred during the examination. After 5 minutes, Andre stepped back and looked at Elisa with grim eyes. "This is very advanced. Another 48 hours, maybe less, and their wolves will be too damaged to save. Even if their human bodies survive, they'll be permanently unable to shift." Elisa's hand flew to her mouth. "Can you help them?" "I can slow the progression. I have a treatment that will stabilize them, reduce the fever, give their bodies a fighting chance." He opened his bag and pulled out 2 vials of silvery liquid. "This is distilled moonflower essence mixed with alpha blood from a donor. It's not a cure, but it will buy time." "How much time?" 3 to 4 days, maybe a week if they're strong." "Their father returns in 4 days." Andre nodded. "Then you have a narrow window. The Alpha King's energy can heal them completely if he bonds with them properly. But Ms. Payne, you need to understand something." "What?" "This illness doesn't just happen randomly. Silver fever requires exposure to colloidal silver, usually through ingestion over several days. Oh, someone poisoned these children." The room seemed to tilt. "That's not possible. I prepare all their meals myself and—"
Check their vitamins, their medications, anything they consume regularly. Elisa's mind raced. The twins took gummy vitamins every morning. She opened the cabinet and grabbed the bottle, handing it to Andre. He opened it, sniffed the contents, then pulled out a small testing kit from his bag. He crushed one of the gummies, mixed it with a reagent, and watched as the solution turned a distinct silver color. Colloidal silver, he confirmed. Concentrated dose. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. Elisa felt sick. The Luna. She ordered these vitamins. She said the old brand wasn't good enough. Andre's expression darkened. Then you have a bigger problem than silver fever. And if the mother is actively poisoning her own children, giving them my treatment might just paint a target on your back. I don't care about me. Just help them. You should care. You're an Omega with no protection. If she's willing to murder her own pups, what do you think she'll do to a witness? Elisa looked at Oliver and Theo, so small and fragile in their beds. I'll deal with that later. Right now, they need this treatment. Andre studied her for a long moment, then nodded. You're either very brave or very foolish. Possibly both. He administered the treatment through small injections in each boy's arm. They barely stirred, too deep in fever sleep to notice. Within 20 minutes, their breathing began to ease. The rattling sound in Theo's chest quieted. Color started returning to their faces. It's working, Elisa breathed. For now. You'll need to give them a second dose in exactly 24 hours. I'm leaving you 4 vials, enough for 2 more treatments. Andre packed his bag. Hide these somewhere safe. If the Luna finds them, she'll know you went around her authority. How much do I owe you? Consider this a professional courtesy. I don't take payment for cases involving child abuse. His voice was hard. But Ms. Payne, you need to contact the Alpha King immediately. Those boys won't be safe until he knows what's happening. He's in closed negotiations. All communication is blocked. Then you'd better hope he comes home before your treatment runs out. After Andre left, Elisa hid the vials in the only place she knew Victoria would never look, the bottom of the laundry hamper in the servants' bathroom. Then she returned to the nursery and finally allowed herself to breathe. The twins were sleeping peacefully for the first time in days. Their temperatures had dropped to 101 degrees. The silver tint in their nails hadn't spread further. She'd bought them time. But as she sat in her chair between their beds, Elisa couldn't stop thinking about the poisoned vitamins. Victoria had ordered them specifically. She'd been slowly killing her own children. Why? The question haunted Elisa through the rest of the night. When dawn came, she disposed of the poisoned vitamins by crushing them and flushing them down the toilet. She replaced the bottle with a new one from her own medicine cabinet, the generic brand she could barely afford. At 8 a.m., Victoria swept into the nursery unannounced. Still alive, I see, she said, looking at the twins with what might have been disappointment. Their color is better. Yes, Luna, the fever broke during the night. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Really? How fortunate. What did you do differently? Elisa's pulse spiked, but she kept her voice steady. I maintained the treatment plan. Cool compresses, hydration, rest. Victoria walked to the medicine cabinet and opened it, scanning the contents. Her gaze landed on the vitamin bottle. I see you're still giving them their vitamins. Yes, Luna, as instructed. Victoria picked up the bottle, shook it, then set it back down. Something flickered across her face. Suspicion, maybe. Good, she said slowly. Consistency is important. Don't change anything without my permission. Of course not, Luna. After Victoria left, Elisa realized her hands were shaking. The Luna had noticed something was different. She was testing, probing. That afternoon, Elisa discovered just how far Victoria was willing to go. She'd gone to the kitchen to prepare the twins' lunch when she overheard voices in the hallway. Victoria was talking to someone, her voice low and urgent. The treatment isn't working fast enough, Victoria hissed. They're getting better instead of worse. A male voice responded, one Elisa didn't recognize. Perhaps the dose wasn't strong enough. Or perhaps that Omega nursemaid is interfering. She's too devoted to them. It's unnatural.
What do you want me to do? Double the concentration in the vitamins, and make sure she doesn't have access to any outside help. I've already blocked the pack doctor. And now we need to ensure she can't bring in anyone else. What about the Alpha King? Gordon won't be back for days. By then, it'll be too late. Natural causes, a tragic illness, no one will question it. Elisa pressed herself against the wall, her heart pounding so hard she thought they might hear it. And the Omega? The male voice asked. If she becomes a problem, we'll handle her too. No one cares about an Omega. She could disappear tomorrow and no one would even file a report. Elisa waited until their footsteps faded before she moved. She stumbled back to the nursery, locked the door behind her, and leaned against it, breathing hard. Victoria wasn't just neglectful. She was actively trying to murder her own children, and Elisa was now a witness who was in her way. She looked at Oliver and Theo, sleeping peacefully under the effects of Andre's treatment. 4 more days until the Alpha King returned. She just had to keep them alive and keep herself alive for 4 more days. Chapter 5. The Accusation. By the 6th day of the twins' illness, Elisa was running on pure adrenaline and fear. She'd administered the 2nd dose of Andre's treatment 24 hours after the 1st, and the boys had continued to improve. Their fevers stayed below 100 degrees. The silver tint in their nails had stopped spreading. They were even eating again, small amounts of soup and crackers. But Elisa knew it was temporary. She had enough treatment for 1 more dose, maybe 2 if she stretched it. After that, the boys would relapse without their father's healing energy, and Victoria was watching her constantly now. The Luna had taken to appearing in the nursery at random hours, her ice-blue eyes scanning every surface, every medicine bottle, every detail. She'd asked pointed questions about the twins' improvement, about what Elisa had been feeding them, about whether anyone had visited. Elisa had lied through every answer, her stomach churning with anxiety. On the morning of the 7th day, everything fell apart. Elisa had just finished giving the twins their breakfast when the nursery door slammed open. Victoria stood there, flanked by 2 pack security officers. Her face was a mask of righteous fury. "Search this room," Victoria commanded. "Every drawer, every cabinet. I want everything examined." Elisa's blood ran cold. "Luna, what's going on?" "What's going on?" Victoria said, her voice dripping with venom. "Is that I've received a very disturbing report. Someone has been seen bringing unauthorized substances onto this estate. Substances that could harm the Alpha's heirs." "I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me!" Victoria shrieked. The twins, startled by the noise, began to cry. "You think I'm stupid? You think I don't know you've been sneaking around undermining my authority?" One of the security officers, a beta named Peter Wilson, began systematically searching the room. He opened drawers, checked under mattresses, rifled through Elisa's personal belongings. "Luna, please, you're scaring the children," Elisa said, trying to keep her voice calm even as panic clawed at her throat. "The children should be scared," Victoria snapped. "Their nursemaid is a criminal." Peter found the medicine cabinet and began pulling out bottles. "What's this?" He held up a bottle of fever reducer. "Over-the-counter medication," Elisa said. "Oh, I bought it myself when the twins were sick." "Why would you need to buy medication? The estate provides everything necessary." The estate cabinet was empty. "Lies," Victoria interrupted. "I keep that cabinet fully stocked. Unless," she turned to Peter, "unless she's been disposing of the proper medication and replacing it with something else." Elisa's hands clenched into fists. "That's not true. I would never harm these boys." "Then explain why they got sicker under your care," Victoria said, stepping closer. "Explain why a simple cold turned into this mystery illness that required such dramatic intervention. It wasn't a cold, it was silver fever, which you diagnosed yourself, despite having no medical training." Victoria's smile was cruel. "Or perhaps you caused it. Or perhaps you poisoned them to make yourself look like a hero when you saved them." The accusation was so audacious, so perfectly inverted from the truth, that Elisa couldn't speak for a moment. "I didn't poison them," she finally said, her voice shaking. "You did." The room went silent. Victoria's face went very still. "What did you just say to me?" Elisa knew she should stop, should back down, but 7 days of watching these children suffer while their mother actively tried to kill them had burned away her caution. "I said you poisoned them. The vitamins you ordered were contaminated with colloidal silver. That's what caused the silver fever." Peter and the other security officer exchanged uncomfortable glances. This was pack politics beyond their pay grade. Victoria laughed, a bright tinkling sound that didn't reach her eyes. The Omega has lost her mind. The stress of caring for sick children has clearly broken her." She turned to the officers. "She's making wild accusations against her Luna. That's insubordination at best, slander at worst." "It's not slander if it's true," Elisa said. She was trembling now, but she couldn't stop. "I heard you. In the hallway 2 days ago. You were talking to someone about doubling the dose because the treatment wasn't working fast enough." Victoria's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Calculation. "Peter," she said sweetly, "would you say this Omega looks stable to you? Mentally sound?" Peter looked at Elisa with something like pity. "She looks exhausted, Luna." "Exactly. Sleep deprivation can cause hallucinations, paranoid delusions." Victoria shook her head sadly. "I should have seen the signs. The poor thing has been working herself to death trying to care for my precious boys. It's made her ill." "I'm not ill, I'm telling the truth. Search her quarters," Victoria ordered. "If she's been bringing unauthorized substances onto the property, there will be evidence." "No, the vials." Andre's treatment was hidden in the servants' bathroom, but if they searched thoroughly enough... Peter hesitated. "Luna, perhaps we should wait for the Alpha King to return. He'll be back tomorrow. He can sort this out." "My children's safety cannot wait," Victoria said. "That is a direct order from your Luna." The security officers had no choice. They left to search the servants' wing. Victoria waited until they were gone, then turned to Elisa with a smile that was pure poison. "You foolish little Omega," she said softly. "Did you really think you could challenge me? I am the Luna of this pack. I have power, connections, legitimacy. You have nothing." "I have the truth," Elisa said. "The truth is what I say it is." Victoria walked to the twins' beds. Both boys had stopped crying and were watching their mother with wide, fearful eyes. "And the truth is that you're an unstable Omega who poisoned the Alpha's heirs in a delusional attempt to make yourself seem important. That's not... When they find whatever drugs you've been using, when the pack doctor examines the boys and finds traces of unauthorized substances in their system, who do you think they'll believe? The respected Luna or the nobody nursemaid?" Elisa felt the trap closing around her. Victoria had orchestrated this perfectly. The poisoned vitamins were gone, disposed of. As any treatment in the twins' system would look like evidence against Elisa, not for her. "Why?" Elisa whispered. "Why would you hurt your own children?" Victoria's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing something ugly beneath. "Because they were never supposed to exist. Gordon wanted heirs. I wanted to be Luna, to have power and status. Children were the price I paid, but they've been nothing but inconvenient since the day they were born." "They're innocent. They're in my way," Victoria hissed. "Gordon dotes on them. The pack loves them. Everyone cares more about the precious heirs than they do about me. Well, if they died of natural causes, tragic illness, Gordon would finally see me again. He'd need me to comfort him, and there would be no more competition for his attention." Elisa stared at her, horrified. You're insane." "I'm practical." Victoria straightened, her mask sliding back into place. "And you're finished." Footsteps echoed in the hallway, the security officers returning. Peter appeared in the doorway, holding a small cloth bag. Inside were the vials of Andre's treatment, their silvery contents gleaming. "We found these hidden in the servants' bathroom," Peter said. "They're not labeled. Contents unknown." Victoria's smile was triumphant. "Well, that's quite damning, isn't it?" "Those are medicine," Elisa said desperately. "They saved the boys' lives." "Medicine requires prescriptions and proper documentation," Victoria said. These are unmarked substances brought onto the property illegally. Peter, place her under arrest. Lock her in the basement holding cell until the Alpha King returns. He can decide her punishment. Luna, maybe we should... That's an order. Peter stepped forward reluctantly. I'm sorry, he said to Elisa. I have to follow protocol. Wait, Elisa said, backing toward the twins. Please, just let me stay until the Alpha King returns. The boys need to be protected from you, Victoria said. She walked to Theo's bed and picked him up, an awkward, unpracticed motion. Theo immediately started crying. I'll care for them myself until we can arrange a replacement. No! Oliver scrambled out of bed and ran to Elisa, wrapping his small arms around her legs. Don't take Elisa! She didn't hurt us! Mama's lying! Victoria's face went cold. Oliver, come here right now! No! Oliver buried his face against Elisa. You're mean! You don't love us! For a moment, something like hurt flashed across Victoria's face, and then it hardened into pure rage. Peter, remove that child from her! Immediately! Peter gently but firmly pulled Oliver away. The boy screamed and fought, reaching for Elisa. It's okay, Ollie, Elisa said, tears streaming down her face now. It's okay. Your daddy will be home soon. Just hold on until your daddy comes home. I want Elisa, Oliver sobbed. I want Elisa. Take her away, Victoria commanded, and someone call Dr. Howard. Tell him we have a medical emergency. The children have been exposed to unknown substances by their caregiver. As Peter led Elisa from the nursery, she looked back one last time. Oliver was crying hysterically. Theo, in Victoria's uncomfortable grip, was reaching toward Elisa with both small hands. I'm sorry, Elisa whispered. I'm so sorry. The door closed, cutting off the sound of the twins' screams. And the holding cell was in the basement, a cold, windowless concrete room with a single cot and a bare light bulb. They took Elisa's phone, her shoes, and locked the heavy steel door behind her. She sank onto the cot, wrapping her arms around herself. Tomorrow, the Alpha King would return. Tomorrow, she could tell him everything. She just prayed the twins could survive one more night in their mother's care. Chapter 6. The Alpha's Return. The holding cell had no windows, no way to track time except for the flickering of the fluorescent light overhead. Elisa didn't sleep. She sat on the edge of the cot, her mind racing through everything that had happened, everything she should have done differently. She should have documented the poisoned vitamins. She should have taken photos, kept evidence. She should have found a way to contact the Alpha King directly. Protocol be damned. But she'd been so focused on keeping the twins alive that she hadn't thought about protecting herself. Footsteps echoed in the hallway outside. Elisa stood up, her heart leaping with hope that it might be Peter coming to release her, to tell her the Alpha King had arrived. But the footsteps passed by without stopping. Hours crawled past. Elisa's throat was dry. They hadn't brought her any water. Her stomach cramped with hunger, but more than that, with fear. Were the twins okay? Had Victoria hurt them further? Without the final dose of Andre's treatment, their symptoms would start returning within 24 hours. She had no idea how long she'd been down here. It felt like days, but was probably only hours. Finally, the sound she'd been waiting for. The metallic scrape of the lock turning. The door swung open. Peter stood there, his expression carefully neutral. The Alpha King has returned, he said. You're to come with me. Elisa's legs were unsteady as she stood. The twins. They're alive. That's all I can tell you. He led her through the basement corridors and up into the main house. Dawn light filtered through the windows. She'd been in the cell all night. They walked past servants who stopped and stared. News had spread, obviously. The Omega nursemaid who'd poisoned the Alpha's heirs. She could see it in their faces, the mix of shock and disgust. Peter brought her to the Alpha King's private study, a massive room lined with books and dominated by a large mahogany desk. Behind that desk sat Gordon Hanson. Elisa had seen the Alpha King before, of course. He was impossible to miss. At 6.5 feet tall with broad shoulders and dark hair graying at the temples, he commanded attention simply by existing. His eyes were a striking amber color, the mark of ancient Alpha bloodline. He was handsome in a harsh, intimidating way, but Elisa had always kept her distance. Omegas didn't interact with alphas unless absolutely necessary, and now those amber eyes were fixed on her with an intensity that made her want to shrink into the floor. Standing beside the desk was Victoria, looking perfectly composed in a pale blue dress. Her eyes were red-rimmed, as if she'd been crying. Dr. Howard was there too, along with 2 pack elders Elisa didn't know by name. "Sit," Gordon commanded, his voice a deep rumble that vibrated in Elisa's chest. She sat in the chair across from his desk, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Gordon stared at her for a long moment before speaking. "Do you know why you're here?" "Yes, Alpha." "Then you understand the severity of the accusations against you." Elisa's throat was so dry she could barely speak. "I understand what I've been accused of, but I didn't do it." Victoria made a soft, wounded sound. "Please, Gordon, but don't make me listen to more of her lies. The evidence speaks for itself." Gordon held up one hand, silencing his mate without looking at her. His eyes never left Elisa. "Dr. Howard," Gordon said, "your report." The doctor stepped forward, holding a tablet. "I examined the twins this morning. They're suffering from silver fever, quite advanced. Their wolf spirits are severely weakened. They have traces of colloidal silver in their systems, consistent with poisoning over several days." "And the substances found in the defendant's possession?" "Moonflower essence mixed with alpha blood. It's a rogue treatment, unregulated. It can stabilize silver fever symptoms temporarily, but isn't a cure. Given improperly, it could cause additional damage." "So she poisoned them, then tried to save them with illegal medicine," Victoria said, and her voice breaking. "Our own sons." "I didn't poison them," Elisa burst out, unable to stay quiet any longer. "The Luna did. She ordered vitamins contaminated with colloidal silver. She's been slowly killing them for weeks." One of the elders, an older woman with white hair, gasped. "That's a serious accusation, girl." "It's the truth." Elisa turned to Gordon desperately. "Alpha, please, you have to believe me. Why would I hurt them? I love those boys. I've spent every day with them for 6 months. I bought medicine with my own money when she refused to call the doctor. I haven't slept in a week trying to keep them alive." "Because you're obsessed," Victoria interrupted, tears streaming down her perfect face now. "Gordon, I didn't want to say this, but I've been concerned about her attachment to the boys for months. It's unnatural. Oh, she acts like they're hers. She undermines my authority, questions my decisions. Because your decisions were killing them." "Enough." Gordon's voice cracked like thunder. The windows rattled. Everyone in the room went silent. The Alpha King stood slowly, his presence filling the space. He walked around the desk and stopped directly in front of Elisa. This close, she could smell him, pine, leather, and something wild that made her skin prickle. "Look at me," he commanded. Elisa forced herself to meet his eyes. She expected to see anger, disgust, condemnation. Instead, she saw something that looked almost like confusion. Gordon leaned down, his face inches from hers, and inhaled deeply. His eyes widened. "What is this?" he said softly, more to himself than anyone else. He reached out slowly and touched Elisa's face, just his fingertips against her cheek. The moment his skin made contact with hers, something happened. It felt like lightning struck the room. Elisa gasped as a jolt of pure energy shot through her body. It was heat and light and electricity all at once, starting where Gordon touched her and radiating outward until every nerve ending was on fire. Not painful fire, but something else, something overwhelming. Gordon jerked his hand back as if burned. His pupils dilated until his eyes were nearly black. "No," he said. "That's not possible." "Gordon?" Victoria's voice was sharp. "What's wrong?" The Alpha King ignored her. He was staring at Elisa like she'd just appeared out of thin air. "What are you?" I'm an Omega, a nursemaid. I don't understand." "You're sent," Gordon said. His voice had gone rough. "It's been masked. Chemicals. Cleaning products. But underneath..." He inhaled again, deeper this time. "Underneath, you smell like..." He cut himself off, his jaw clenching. "Like what?" Victoria demanded, stepping closer. "Gordon, What's going on?" Gordon straightened, running a hand through his hair. His composure was cracking. "Dr. Howard, run a blood test. Full panel. I want to know if she has wolf heritage." "She's an Omega," Victoria said. "She doesn't have a wolf. That's already documented." "Do it anyway," Gordon snapped. "Alpha," Dr. Howard said carefully. "Are you suggesting—" "I'm not suggesting anything. I'm ordering a test." The doctor nodded and left quickly. Victoria's face had gone pale. "Gordon, talk to me. What did you sense?" But Gordon didn't answer her. He was still staring at Elisa, his expression a mix of shock and something else, something that looked like recognition. "The twins," he said finally. "I want to see them. Now." "Of course," Victoria said, recovering her composure. "But darling, you should know they're very traumatized. They've been through so much. Now." They walked to the nursery, a strange procession. Elisa was flanked by Peter and the other security officer, essentially a prisoner. Victoria clung to Gordon's arm, whispering urgently to him, though Elisa couldn't hear what she was saying. When they opened the nursery door, both twins were in their beds, pale and listless. A temporary nursemaid, an older beta woman, sat between them looking exhausted. The moment Oliver saw his father, he sat up. "Daddy!" Gordon strode to the bed and gathered his son into his arms. The change in Oliver was immediate. The boy relaxed, some color returning to his cheeks. Alpha energy, Elisa realized. Gordon's presence alone was helping. "Daddy, you have to let Elisa out," Oliver said urgently, grabbing his father's shirt. "She didn't hurt us. Mama did." Victoria's face went very still. "Oliver, sweetheart, you're confused." "I'm not confused." Oliver's voice rose. "Mama never visits us. She doesn't care if we're sick. But Elisa stayed with us every night. She gave us medicine and held us when we were scared. And Mama—" He lowered his voice, but everyone in the room could still hear. "Mama made us take bad vitamins, the ones that made our nails turn silver." Gordon's head snapped toward Victoria. "What?" "He's a child, Gordon. He doesn't understand." "Theo," Gordon said, his voice deadly calm. He moved to the other bed where the smaller twin lay. "Son, I'll look at me." Theo's eyes opened. They were fever bright but focused. "Daddy?" "Tell me the truth. Did Mama give you vitamins that made you sick?" Theo's lower lip trembled. "I'm not supposed to tell. Mama said it was our secret. She said if we told, Elisa would get in trouble." The room went completely silent. Gordon stood slowly. When he turned to face Victoria, his eyes had gone from amber to burning gold, the sign of an alpha on the edge of losing control. "Explain," he said, each word precise and measured. "Explain right now why my sons just said you poisoned them." Victoria's composure finally cracked. "They're confused. Gordon, please, you can't believe children over me." "I can smell lies," Gordon said. "It's one of my gifts. And right now, you reek of them." "I am your Luna." "You are on very thin ice." Gordon took a step toward her. "Peter, search the Luna's private quarters. I want every medication bottle, every supplement, every substance she has access to. Bring everything to Dr. Howard for testing." "Gordon, this is ridiculous. Do you know what the penalty is for attempting to murder the Alpha's heirs?" Gordon's voice was soft now, which somehow made it more terrifying. "Death. Slow, public, and permanent." Victoria's face went white. "You wouldn't. Try me." For a long moment, Victoria stared at her mate. Then her expression changed. The mask of the perfect Luna fell away completely, revealing something cold and calculating beneath. "Fine," she said. "You want the truth? Yes, I gave them the vitamins. Yes, I knew what they would do. And yes, I hoped they would die." The confession hung in the air like poison gas. "Why?" Gordon's voice was barely more than a growl. "Because I never wanted them," Victoria spat. "I wanted to be Luna. I wanted power, status, respect. But all anyone cares about is the precious heirs, you included. When was the last time you looked at me, really looked at me, instead of asking about the boys? They're my sons, and I'm your mate, or I was supposed to be. Victoria laughed bitterly. But you never loved me. You married me for politics. So I figured if the boys were gone, maybe you'd finally need me. Maybe you'd finally see me as more than a broodmare. Gordon stared at his wife as if seeing her for the first time. You're insane. I'm practical. You tried to murder our children. They were in my way. Victoria shrugged. And I would have succeeded if that pathetic Omega hadn't interfered. She glared at Elisa. This is your fault. You should have let them die. Elisa couldn't speak. She was shaking, overwhelmed by the casual cruelty of the confession. Gordon turned away from Victoria, his shoulders rigid with rage. Peter, arrest the Luna. Take her to the holding cells, maximum security, no visitors, no calls. She's to be held for trial on charges of attempted murder and treason. Gordon, you can't. I just did. Remove her from my sight before I forget she's female and rip her throat out. Peter and the other officer moved forward. Victoria backed away, her composure finally shattering completely. This isn't over, she screamed as they grabbed her arms. I'm Luna! You can't do this to me! My father will... Your father will disown you the moment he hears what you've done, Gordon said coldly. Now get her out of here. They dragged Victoria from the room, her screams echoing down the hallway until a door slammed shut, cutting off the sound. Gordon stood there, breathing hard, his hands clenched into fists. Finally, he turned to Elisa. You, he said. You saved them. Elisa didn't know what to say. I couldn't let them die. Gordon crossed the room in 3 strides. Before Elisa could react, he dropped to one knee in front of her, the Alpha King kneeling before an Omega. Everyone in the room gasped. Forgive me, Gordon said, his voice rough with emotion. You protected my sons when their own mother tried to kill them. You risked everything, and I threw you in a cell. He looked up at her, and his eyes were wet. I'm sorry. Elisa's throat tightened. You didn't know. I should have known. I should have paid attention. I should have been here. He reached out slowly and took her hand. The spark was there again, that electric connection. Thank you for saving them. Thank you for loving them when no one else would. Behind them, Oliver spoke up in a small voice. Daddy, is Elisa in trouble? Gordon stood, still holding Elisa's hand. No, son. Elisa is a hero, and she's never going to be a servant in this house again. He looked at Elisa with an intensity that made her breath catch. Things are about to change, he said softly. Are you ready for that? Elisa didn't understand what he meant, but as she looked at the twins, at Oliver's relieved smile and Theo's weak wave, she knew one thing for certain. She was ready for anything, as long as these boys were safe. If you're loving this story, please smash that like button and subscribe, thank you. Chapter 7. The Bond. 3 days after Victoria's arrest, Shadow Peak Estate was still reeling from the scandal. Elisa had been moved from the servants' quarters to a guest suite on the 2nd floor, a room with actual furniture and windows that overlooked the forest. She wasn't sure what her status was anymore, not a servant, according to Gordon, but not exactly anything else either. The twins had been moved to a room adjacent to hers, close enough that she could hear them if they called out in the night. Gordon had taken over their medical care personally, using his alpha energy to slowly heal the damage the silver fever had caused. It was working. The silver tint had faded from their nails, their fevers were gone, their wolves, once dying, were growing stronger every day. But Gordon's treatment required constant physical contact, which meant he'd essentially moved into the children's wing. Elisa saw him constantly now, no longer the distant, intimidating figure from before. He was just a father, sitting on the floor playing with toy cars, reading bedtime stories, holding his sons while they slept. And every time Elisa entered the room, his eyes would find her immediately, that strange, intense look that she didn't understand. On the 4th morning, Dr. Howard came to examine the twins. He brought test results with him. Their wolf spirits are regenerating beautifully, the doctor announced, checking Oliver's heartbeat. Another week of alpha energy treatments and they should be completely recovered. No permanent damage. Elisa, who had been sitting in the corner reading, felt tears of relief prick her eyes. They're really going to be okay? Yes. Thanks to you. Dr. Howard smiled at her, then turned to Gordon. And Alpha, I have the blood test results you requested. Gordon, who had been lying on the floor with Theo climbing on his back, sat up immediately. And? As you suspected, Ms. Payne has wolf heritage. Quite strong, actually. It appears her wolf was suppressed, likely by long-term exposure to silver-based cleaning products. Elisa stared. I have a wolf? A dormant one. With proper care and removal from the suppressing agents, she should manifest within a few months. Dr. Howard looked at his tablet. There's something else. Her bloodline shows markers consistent with healer wolves. They're rare, but they have an innate ability to soothe and stabilize other wolves through proximity. That's why she could stabilize them even without alpha energy, Gordon said quietly. Her presence alone was healing them. Precisely. She's not just an Omega Alpha. She's a healer. Had she been raised in a proper pack, she would have been trained and valued highly. After the doctor left, Gordon sent the twins to play in the adjoining room with their new toys. Then he turned to Elisa. We need to talk. Elisa's stomach clenched. This was it. He was going to thank her politely and send her away. Now that the truth about Victoria was out, now that the twins were healing, he didn't need an Omega nursemaid cluttering up his life. Okay, she said softly. Gordon ran a hand through his hair. A gesture she'd learned meant he was uncomfortable. What I'm about to tell you is going to sound insane, but I need you to hear me out. I'm listening. The first time I touched you in my office, I felt something. At the mate bond. Elisa blinked. The what? It's rare. Most wolves never find their true mate. They marry for politics, for pack alliances like I did with Victoria, but true mates are different. It's a soul connection, recognized instantly by touch and scent. I don't understand what you're saying. Gordon stepped closer. I'm saying that you're my true mate, Elisa, not Victoria. You. The words hung in the air between them. Elisa couldn't process them. That's impossible, she whispered. I'm an Omega. You're an Alpha King. True mates are supposed to be equals. True mates are chosen by fate, not by rank. Gordon's voice was gentle but firm. I know this is overwhelming. I know you probably think I'm trying to take advantage of the situation, but I'm telling you the truth. My wolf recognized you the moment we touched. Oh, he's been clawing at me for days, demanding I claim you. Elisa took a step back. Claim me? I'm not property. That's not what I meant. Gordon held up his hands. I'm explaining this badly. I'm not trying to force anything on you. I'm just telling you what I know, what I feel. You're married. To a woman who tried to murder my children. The bond with Victoria was never real. It was political, a contract. I'm in the process of dissolving it legally. He paused. But even if I wasn't, it wouldn't change what you are to me. Elisa's mind was racing. This couldn't be happening. Things like this didn't happen to Omegas with no family, no status, no future. Why are you telling me this? She asked. Because I wanted you to understand why things are changing, why I can't stop looking at you, or why being in the same room with you feels like coming home. Gordon's amber eyes were intense. And because I wanted to give you a choice. A choice in what? In whether you want to explore this bond or not. I'm not going to force you into anything. If you want to leave, take a generous severance and start fresh somewhere else, I'll arrange it. No questions, no consequences. And if I stay? Then we take this slowly. We get to know each other properly. I court you the way you deserve to be courted. And if, after time, you feel the bond too, we make it official. Elisa looked at him. This powerful alpha who was currently covered in cracker crumbs from the twins' snack time, offering her a choice. Respect. Agency. What about the pack? She asked. They'll never accept an Omega as Luna. Then they can leave. You saved my sons. Now you proved your worth 100 times over. Anyone who can't see that isn't worthy of this pack. Before Elisa could respond, Oliver came running in. "Daddy, can Elisa take us to the gardens? Please, we've been inside forever." Gordon looked at Elisa. "What do you say? Are you up for a walk with two energetic wolf pups?" She looked at Oliver's hopeful face, heard Theo calling from the other room asking what was happening, and felt something warm bloom in her chest. "Yes," she said. "I'd like that." Gordon's smile was blinding. "Then let's go." They walked through the estate gardens, the twins running ahead to chase butterflies. Gordon stayed close to Elisa, not touching, but near enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him. "Can I ask you something?" Elisa said. "Anything." "That day in your office, you said my scent had been masked. By what?" Gordon's jaw tightened. "Industrial cleaning products. Someone made sure you were exposed to chemicals that would suppress your natural scent and prevent your wolf from manifesting. It would have to be deliberate, over a long period." Elisa thought back to her first weeks at the estate. "Victoria assigned my duties. She specifically put me in charge of deep cleaning the nursery. She insisted I use a particular brand of cleaner, said it was the only one that met her standards. Let me guess, it burned your hands, made your eyes water?" "Yes, I developed a rash, but she said I was being dramatic." "She was poisoning you too," Gordon said quietly, "keeping you weak and unnoticeable. She must have sensed the potential bond somehow, even if I didn't." They walked in silence for a moment. "I'm sorry," Gordon said finally. "For 3 years you were right under my nose and I never saw you. I never protected you." "You didn't know I existed." "That's the problem. I should have. I should have known every person in my household, especially someone caring for my children." He stopped walking and turned to face her. "I was a terrible alpha. Distant, focused on politics and treaties while my own home was rotting from the inside." "You didn't know Victoria was—" "I should have." His voice was harsh with self-recrimination. "The signs were there, the way she never held the boys, the way she flinched from them, the complaints about how they'd ruined her figure, her social life. I ignored it all because it was easier than dealing with it." Elisa understood that feeling. How many times had she ignored warning signs because confronting them seemed impossible? "We both survived," she said. "That's what matters." Gordon looked at her with something like wonder. "How are you not angry? You have every right to hate me, to hate this pack." "I don't hate you." The words came out softer than she intended. "You came back. You listened. You believed your sons over everyone else. That takes courage." "It should have been automatic." "But it wasn't. For a lot of alphas it wouldn't be." Elisa smiled slightly. "You're not perfect, Gordon, but you're trying. That's more than most people do." He stared at her for a long moment, then laughed, the sound surprised and genuine. "You're going to be trouble, aren't you?" "What do you mean?" "You're kind. You see the best in people, even when they don't deserve it." He shook his head. "It's going to make me want to be better. That's exhausting." Elisa laughed too, the sound rusty from disuse. "I think you'll survive." "Daddy! Elisa! Look!" Theo was pointing at a rabbit that had hopped onto the garden path. They spent the rest of the afternoon in the gardens, watching the twins play. And for the first time in 3 years, Elisa felt something she'd almost forgotten. Hope. That evening, after the twins were asleep, Gordon found Elisa in the library. She was curled up in a chair reading. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Too much on my mind." He sat in the chair across from her. "I spoke with my lawyers today. Victoria's trial is set for next week. The Pack Council wants to make an example of her." "What will happen?" "Exile at minimum, possibly execution, given that she tried to kill the heirs." Gordon's expression was grim. "Her family has disowned her. Her father publicly denounced her. She has no allies left." "Do you feel anything about what's happening to her?" "Relief, anger, guilt that I ever brought her into my sons' lives." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "But not love. I don't think I ever loved her. I liked the idea of her, the perfect political match. But the reality? She was always cold." I'm sorry. Don't be. It's the truth. He looked at her. Can I ask you something? Of course. The night you saved them, when you wrapped yourself around them in that library, you knew you might die, didn't you? Elisa nodded slowly. I knew the odds weren't good, but I couldn't leave them alone. They were so scared. Why? They weren't yours. But you barely earned enough to survive. You could have saved yourself. Because they needed me, Elisa said simply, and because I loved them. I know I'm not their mother. I know I have no claim to them, but somewhere along the way, they became mine, in my heart, if nowhere else. Gordon's eyes glowed amber in the firelight. They are yours. They chose you. And when you're ready, when you decide you want this life, they'll be yours legally too, as will I. The intensity of his gaze made her shiver, not from fear, from something else. I'm not ready, she whispered. Not yet. I know. I'll wait. He stood up, then paused. But Elisa, know that my wolf is patient, but he's also possessive. Now that we've found you, we're not letting you go. Take all the time you need. We'll be here. After he left, Elisa sat in the library for a long time, her book forgotten in her lap. Her life had changed completely in less than 2 weeks, from invisible servant to the Alpha King's true mate. It felt like a fairy tale, which meant there was probably another disaster coming. But tonight, in this moment, she let herself hope that maybe, just maybe, the happy ending was real. Chapter 8. Justice Served. Victoria's trial took place in the Great Hall of Shadow Peak Estate, a cavernous room built for pack gatherings. Every ranking member of the pack was present, along with representatives from allied packs and the Regional Alpha Council. The room was packed with hundreds of wolves, all there to witness the downfall of their Luna. Elisa sat in the front row, flanked by 2 pack guards. Gordon had wanted her there, said her testimony would be crucial. She wore a simple navy dress that one of the house staff had given her, far more formal than anything she'd owned before. The twins were with Nanny Greta in the nursery. Gordon had been adamant they not witness this. Victoria was brought in wearing chains, a humiliation reserved for the worst criminals. Her platinum hair was tangled, her face bare of makeup. She looked smaller somehow, diminished without the armor of her designer clothes and perfect appearance. But her eyes, when they landed on Elisa, were still full of venom. The trial was presided over by Elder Austin Shaw, the head of the Pack Council. He was ancient, over 300 years old, with silver hair and eyes that had seen generations rise and fall. Victoria Owens, formerly Victoria Hanson, Luna of Shadow Peak Pack. Austin's voice rang out. You stand accused of attempted murder of the Alpha heirs, conspiracy to commit murder, child endangerment, and treason against your pack. How do you plead? Victoria lifted her chin. Not guilty. A murmur rippled through the crowd. You confessed, Gordon said from his seat at the Alpha's table. His voice was controlled, but Elisa could see the tension in his shoulders. In front of witnesses, you admitted to poisoning our sons. I was under duress, Victoria said smoothly. You'd just returned from a long journey. You were emotionally compromised, and that Omega had poisoned your mind against me with her lies. Lies? Gordon's voice dropped to a growl. My sons confirmed everything. Children can be manipulated, especially by someone who spent months grooming them to prefer her over their own mother. Elisa's hands clenched in her lap. The audacity of the woman was breathtaking. Let's review the evidence, Austin said, nodding to Dr. Howard. The doctor stood and presented his findings. The poisoned vitamins, their chemical composition, the purchase orders that traced directly back to Victoria, the progression of the silver fever, the timeline that matched exactly with when the vitamins had been introduced. Then came testimony from the house staff, the cook who had been instructed to dispose of the old vitamin bottles without question, the assistant, Tammy, who had been told to prevent Elisa from contacting the Alpha King, the security log showing Victoria leaving the estate multiple times while her children were critically ill. Through it all, Victoria sat with her expression carefully blank. Then Austin called Elisa to testify. She walked to the witness stand on shaking legs, aware of every eye in the room on her. An Omega, testifying against a Luna. It was almost unheard of. "State your name and position," Austin said kindly. "Elisa Payne. I was the night nursemaid for the Alpha's sons." "Tell us, in your own words, what happened during the weeks leading up to the Alpha King's return?" Elisa took a deep breath and told the truth. All of it. The twins' declining health, Victoria's refusal to call for medical help, the overheard conversation about doubling the dose, the falsified vitamins, the arrest and false accusations. "And why?" Austin asked. "Did you risk bringing in an unauthorized healer? You knew it was against protocol." "Because they were dying," Elisa said simply, "and no one else was helping them. I couldn't watch them die when I had the ability to try something, anything to save them." "Even knowing you might be caught? Punished?" "Yes. Their lives were worth more than my job, more than my freedom." Elisa looked directly at Victoria. "They were worth everything." "Thank you, Ms. Payne. You may step down." As Elisa returned to her seat, she caught Gordon's eye. He gave her a small nod of approval. Then it was Victoria's turn to testify. She took the stand with the grace of someone walking a runway, despite the chains. She'd always been a performer. "I loved my sons," Victoria said, her voice trembling with emotion. "Everything I did was to protect them. Yes, I ordered special vitamins. I was trying to boost their immune systems because they were always sick. I had no idea they were contaminated." "The purchase order has your signature," Austin pointed out, "and a note specifying silver-enhanced formula for wolf suppression." "I don't know anything about that note. Anyone could have added it." "Your personal assistant confirmed you dictated it to her." Victoria's mask slipped for a moment, and she's lying to save herself. "Multiple witnesses have corroborated the same story." "Then they're all lying. They never liked me. The staff, the pack, even my own mate." She turned to Gordon, her eyes filling with tears. "You never loved me. You were always looking for a reason to get rid of me. And when that pathetic Omega showed up, playing the hero, you saw your chance." "This isn't about my feelings for you," Gordon said coldly. "This is about what you did to our children." "I gave you those children," Victoria shrieked, her composure finally shattering completely. "I ruined my body. I gave up my life, my freedom to give you heirs. And what did I get? Nothing. You ignored me. The pack barely acknowledged me, and those brats got all the attention." She stopped, realizing what she'd said. The room was dead silent. "Oh, those brats," Austin repeated quietly. "Is that how you refer to your sons?" Victoria's face went white. "I didn't mean—" "I think you meant exactly that." Austin looked at the council members, who were all nodding grimly. "We've heard enough. Victoria Owens, this council finds you guilty on all charges. The evidence is overwhelming, and your own words have condemned you." Victoria lunged to her feet, chains rattling. "No, you can't do this! I'm Luna! I have rights!" "You have no rights," Gordon said, standing. "As Alpha King of this pack, I officially reject you as my mate and revoke your title as Luna. You are no longer part of this pack." As he spoke, the Luna mark on Victoria's wrist, a silver crescent moon that had appeared when they bonded, began to burn. She screamed, clutching her arm as the mark turned black, then flaked away like ash. The rejection was complete. "As for sentencing," Austin continued, "the council has deliberated. You will be exiled to the Rogue Lands, beyond pack protection. You will be marked as a child murderer, so all wolves will know your crime, and you will live with what you've done for the rest of your days." "No," Victoria whispered. "Please, not exile. Anything but that. You should have thought of that before you tried to murder children." The guards moved forward to take her away. As they passed Elisa's seat, Victoria stopped and looked at her with pure hatred. "This is your fault," she hissed. "You ruined everything. I hope you choke on your happiness, Omega. I hope it destroys you." "I saved your children," Elisa said quietly. "That's all I did. The rest is on you." Victoria was dragged away, her screams echoing through the hall until the doors closed behind her. The crowd erupted into conversation. Some seemed satisfied with the verdict, others shocked by the severity. Gordon made his way to Elisa immediately. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine. Is it really over?" "Yes. She'll be taken to the border tomorrow and released. After that—" He shrugged. "She's no longer our problem." Elder Austin approached them, his ancient eyes kind. "Ms. Payne, you showed remarkable courage today, both in your actions and in your testimony." "Thank you, Elder. I understand you have wolf heritage, a healer bloodline." "That's what Dr. Howard said." "Then you should be trained properly. We have healers in this pack who can teach you to manifest and control your abilities." He looked at Gordon. "With your permission, Alpha?" "Of course. Eliza is under my personal protection. She has access to any resources she needs." "Personal protection," Austin repeated, a knowing gleam in his eye. "I see. Well then, I suppose congratulations are in order." "For what?" Eliza asked, confused. "You'll see," the elder said cryptically, then walked away chuckling. That evening, Gordon called a pack meeting. Everyone assembled in the great hall again, confused about the sudden summons. Elisa stood at the back, trying to be invisible out of habit, but Gordon's eyes found her immediately. "Come here," he said, holding out his hand. Every head in the room turned to stare at her. "Gordon, what are you doing?" she whispered as she reluctantly approached. "Something I should have done days ago." He led her to the center of the raised platform at the front of the hall. The entire pack watched in confused silence. "You all witnessed the trial today," Gordon began, his voice carrying to every corner of the room. "You saw the evidence of Victoria's crimes. The council has rendered their verdict, and justice has been served." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. "But there's something else you need to know. Something I've kept quiet for the past week." He turned to Elisa. "This woman, Elisa Payne, saved my sons' lives. She risked everything, her job, her freedom, her own life, to protect them when their own mother was trying to kill them." The crowd was listening intently now. "Most of you have never noticed her before. She was a servant, an Omega, invisible to nearly everyone in this pack, including me." Gordon's voice roughened with emotion. "I'm ashamed of that. I should have known her, protected her, valued her. But I was blind." He took Elisa's hand. The spark was there, that electric connection that made both of them inhale sharply. "I'm not blind anymore. My wolf recognized what my human side was too stupid to see. Elisa is my true mate." The crowd exploded into shocked exclamations. "That's impossible!" someone shouted. "She's an Omega!" "The mate bond doesn't care about rank," Gordon said firmly. "It's about souls, not status. And my soul chose hers." He turned to face Elisa fully, still holding her hand. "I know this is sudden. I know you're not ready. But I wanted the pack to know officially that you are under my protection. That you are valued, respected, and honored here. You are no longer a servant. You are my mate, whether or not we've completed the bonding ceremony. And anyone who disrespects you, disrespects me." His eyes glowed amber, a clear warning to the assembled wolves. Then he did something that made the entire room gasp. He knelt, the Alpha King, on one knee before an Omega. "Elisa," Gordon said, looking up at her, "I'm not asking you to bond with me right now. I know you need time, but I'm asking if you'll consider it. If you'll let me court you properly, show you what it means to be cherished and protected. Will you give me that chance?" Elisa looked down at him, this powerful alpha who was humbling himself publicly for her. She looked out at the crowd, some shocked, some disapproving, but many smiling with genuine warmth. She thought about the twins, safely sleeping upstairs, who called for her in the night and drew her pictures and told her they loved her. She thought about the life she could have, not as a servant, not as someone invisible, but as someone valued, someone loved. "Yes," she whispered. Then louder, "Yes, I'll give you that chance." Gordon's smile was blinding. He stood and, in front of the entire pack, pulled her into his arms and kissed her forehead. The crowd erupted into applause, though not everyone joined in. But Elisa didn't care about the skeptics, because for the first time in her entire life, she felt like she belonged somewhere. She felt like she'd come home. Chapter 9. The Challenge. 3 weeks after the trial, life at Shadow Peak Estate had settled into a new rhythm. Victoria was gone, exiled to the rogue lands where no pack would take her in. News had spread through the supernatural community about what she'd done, and the mark on her forehead, a black brand that labeled her a child murderer, ensured she'd never be trusted again. Elisa tried not to think about her, tried not to wonder if Victoria was suffering, cold, alone. She'd made her choices. The consequences were her own. Elisa had more important things to focus on, like the fact that her wolf was waking up. It started small. A tingling sensation in her spine when she got angry. A heightened sense of smell that made her notice things she'd never noticed before. The way Gordon's scent changed when he was nearby. How pine and leather intensifying into something that made her dizzy. The way she could hear the twins' heartbeats from 2 rooms away. Dr. Howard monitored her progress weekly. "Your wolf was suppressed for so long, she's going to emerge gradually," he explained. "It might take months, but she's definitely there, growing stronger every day." "What will it feel like when she fully manifests?" "Like meeting a part of yourself you never knew existed. It can be overwhelming at first, but with proper guidance, you'll learn to work together." Gordon had arranged for Elisa to train with Marilou Evans, one of the pack's most experienced healers. Marilou was in her 60s, with kind brown eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. "Healer wolves are special," Marilou told Elisa during their first session. "We can sense pain in others, both physical and emotional. We can soothe, stabilize, even accelerate healing if we're strong enough. But it comes with a price." "What price?" "We feel everything more intensely. Joy, grief, fear. It's like having no skin, no barrier between yourself and the world's emotions. You have to learn to shield or it'll consume you." Elisa thought about the nights she'd spent with the twins, feeling their fear and pain as if it were her own. Maybe her wolf had been trying to emerge even then, responding to their need. "I want to learn," Elisa said. "Teach me." The training was exhausting. Marilou would have her sit in the pack hospital, surrounded by injured or sick wolves, and practice sensing their pain without absorbing it, learning to send calming energy without depleting herself. You're a natural," Marilou said after one particularly grueling session. "Most healers take years to develop this level of control. You're doing it in weeks." "Is that because of the mate bond?" Elisa asked. "Gordon's alpha energy, does it make me stronger?" "Possibly. True mate bonds enhance both partners' abilities. His strength feeds yours, and your healing feeds his. It's symbiotic." The mate bond. Elisa was still getting used to that concept. Gordon was courting her, as he'd promised, but it wasn't what she'd expected. He didn't shower her with expensive gifts or grand gestures. Instead, he did small things. He'd leave her favorite tea on her nightstand in the mornings. He'd ask about her training, actually listen to the answers. He'd join her and the twins for breakfast, sitting at the small table in the nursery instead of the formal dining room. And every evening, after the twins were asleep, he'd find her in the library, the gardens, wherever she'd gone to decompress, and they'd talk. They talked about everything. His childhood, raised to be alpha from birth, the pressure and isolation that came with it. Her childhood, bouncing between foster homes, never belonging anywhere. His failed marriage to Victoria, the warning signs he'd ignored. Her years of invisibility, convincing herself she didn't deserve more. "I don't know how to be a Luna," Elisa confessed one night as they walked through the moonlit gardens. "I don't know politics or diplomacy. I can't make small talk with other alphas' mates. I'll embarrass you." "You could never embarrass me," Gordon said firmly. Luna isn't about fancy parties and diplomatic skills, though you can learn those if you want. It's about caring for the pack, protecting the vulnerable, leading with compassion. You've been doing that since the day you arrived. You just didn't have the title." "The pack doesn't accept me. I hear them whispering. They think I seduced you, that I'm a gold digger using the twins to climb the social ladder." Gordon's jaw clenched. Who said that? Give me names. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. You are my mate. Disrespecting you is disrespecting me. Gordon, you can't punish everyone who doesn't like me. That's not how leadership works. He stopped walking and turned to face her. Then how does it work? Tell me, because right now I want to challenge every wolf who's made you feel less than what you are. Elisa smiled despite herself. That's very alpha of you, but I need to earn their respect, not have it forced on them. Give me time. Let me prove myself. You've already proven yourself 100 times over. To you, not to them. Gordon studied her face in the moonlight. You're going to make an incredible Luna. You know that? I don't know anything. I'm terrified. Good. Fear means you care about doing it right. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. I'm terrified too, of messing this up, of not being the mate you deserve. You're doing fine so far. Yeah? His voice dropped lower, more intimate. Just fine? Maybe slightly better than fine, Elisa teased, feeling bolder than usual. Gordon's eyes flashed amber. Careful. And my wolf takes compliments as encouragement. What does he want to be encouraged to do? Things I promised I'd wait for. His hand cupped her face gently. Things that require you to be absolutely certain this is what you want. Elisa's breath caught. The air between them was charged, electric. And if I said I was getting close to certain? Then I'd say, take all the time you need. Because once I claim you fully, once we complete the mate bond, there's no going back. You'd be mine, and I'd be yours, forever. No divorce, no separation. Just us, bound soul to soul until one of us dies. The intensity of his words should have scared her. Instead, they made her feel safe, protected, wanted in a way she'd never experienced. I think I'd like that, she whispered. Eventually, Gordon smiled and pressed a kiss to her forehead, a gesture he'd made his trademark. Eventually is good enough for me. But not everyone was happy about the developing relationship. 2 days later, a formal challenge arrived from the Regional Alpha Council. 3 high-ranking alphas from neighboring packs were demanding an audience with Gordon, citing concerns about the stability of the Shadow Peak pack leadership. They're questioning your judgment, Elder Austin explained during an emergency council meeting. Victoria was your chosen mate. She turned out to be a murderer. Now you're claiming an Omega as your true mate. They think you're emotionally compromised, making rash decisions. My mating bond is none of their business, Gordon growled. Unfortunately, as Alpha King of the region's largest pack, your choices affect everyone. If they can prove you're unfit to lead, they can call for a vote of no confidence. Let them try. Gordon, Austin said gently, they're bringing their own Lunas, women of status, power, education. They're going to compare them to Elisa and ask the council why we should accept someone with no training, no bloodline, no experience. Gordon's eyes blazed gold. Elisa saved my children's lives. That's more qualification than any fancy pedigree. I know that. You know that. But politics don't care about what's right. They care about appearance and tradition. Elisa, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, she still wasn't sure she was allowed at council meetings, finally spoke up. When is this meeting? 3 days from now. Then I have 3 days to prepare. She looked at Gordon. Let them come. Let them question me. I'll prove I'm worthy. You don't have to prove anything. Yes, I do. Not to you, but to the pack, to the council, to everyone who doubts me. Elisa stood, squaring her shoulders. I'm not going to hide behind your protection forever. If I'm going to be Luna, I need to earn it. Austin smiled approvingly. Spoken like a true leader. The next 3 days were a whirlwind. Marilu drilled Elisa on pack history, politics, traditions. Elder Austin taught her proper etiquette for addressing other alphas. The house staff, who had grown to genuinely care for her, helped her prepare a presentation on the innovations she wanted to bring to the pack's social services. Because Elisa had realized something. She'd spent years as an invisible servant, seeing the gaps in the system. The Omegas who worked themselves to exhaustion with no support, and the children in this pack school who fell through the cracks, the elderly wolves with no family to care for them. If she was going to be Luna, she'd use that position to fix those problems. Gordon watched her prepare with a mixture of pride and concern. You don't have to do all this. I'll support you regardless. I know you will, but I need to do it anyway. Elisa looked up from her notes. Do you understand? I do. He smiled. My mother would have liked you. Would she? She always said the best Lunas were the ones who'd struggled, who understood what it meant to go without. She'd have said you were perfect. On the morning of the meeting, Elisa dressed in a simple but elegant forest green dress that brought out her eyes. She wore the silver bracelet Gordon had given her, engraved with the Shadow Peak crest, and her hair was pulled back in a neat bun. She looked professional, composed, nothing like the terrified Omega who'd cowered in servants' corridors. The visiting alphas arrived at noon. Carlton Strickland, a grizzled alpha in his 70s who ruled the Northern Ridge Pack, Nelson Woods, a younger alpha known for his traditional values, and Roland Schmidt, the wealthiest alpha in the region, whose pack controlled most of the area's business interests. They brought their Lunas, Opal Mueller, a sophisticated woman dripping in diamonds, Evangeline Fraser, who'd been trained in pack diplomacy since birth, and Rosalind Ritter, a former pack warrior with an intimidating presence. Elisa felt completely out of her depth, but then Oliver and Theo ran into the receiving room, ignoring protocol completely. Elisa! Oliver crashed into her legs, he hugging her. Daddy said we can't come to the boring meeting, but we wanted to see you first. Theo handed her a drawing. I made you a picture. It's you and us and Daddy, all together. Elisa knelt down, hugging both boys. Thank you, sweethearts. This is beautiful. I'll keep it forever. When she looked up, she realized everyone in the room was staring. The visiting alphas looked shocked. Their Lunas were whispering to each other. Gordon stepped forward, placing a hand on Elisa's shoulder. Gentlemen, ladies, allow me to introduce Elisa Payne, my mate, and the woman who saved my sons from murder. Carlton cleared his throat. Yes, we heard about the trial. Terrible business. But Alpha Gordon, surely you can see why we have concerns. Concerns about what? About whether Elisa is qualified to be Luna? Gordon's voice was dangerously calm. Let's discuss that. But first, let the children say goodbye properly. Elisa kissed both boys on the forehead. Be good for Nanny Greta. I'll come read to you tonight. Promise? Theo asked. I promise. After the twins left, the atmosphere in the room shifted. This was no longer a casual visit. This was a test, and Elisa was ready. Chapter 10. The Perfect Union. The meeting took place in Gordon's formal office, a room designed to intimidate with its dark wood paneling and massive desk. The three visiting alphas sat on one side of the conference table, their Lunas beside them. Gordon and Elisa sat opposite, with Elder Austin positioned at the head as mediator. Carlton spoke first, his weathered face stern. Alpha Gordon, we've known each other for decades. I respect you, which is why I'm going to be direct. Your judgment has been called into question. By whom? Gordon's voice was cold. By all of us, Nelson interjected. He was younger, maybe early 40s, with sharp features. You chose Victoria as your mate. She fooled you for years, nearly murdered your heirs. Now you're claiming an Omega with no background, no training, no status as your true mate. It seems impulsive. The mate bond isn't impulsive. It's fate. Perhaps, Roland said smoothly. He was the most dangerous of the three, Elisa sensed. Polished, calculating. But Luna is a political position as much as a personal one. Ms. Payne, with all due respect, you have no qualifications for this role. Elisa had been quiet until now, letting Gordon handle the initial confrontation, but this was her moment. You're right, she said clearly. I have no formal qualifications, no diplomatic training, no political connections, no prestigious bloodline. I was a servant, an Omega, someone you probably wouldn't have noticed if I served you tea. The three Lunas shifted uncomfortably. But I know this pack in ways you never could, Elisa continued, her voice growing stronger. I know the Omega mothers who work 3 jobs because pack childcare services don't accommodate their schedules. I know the elderly wolves who sit alone in the community center because their families are too busy. I know the children who fail in school because they need extra support that isn't offered. Those are operational details, Nelson began. Those are lives, Elisa interrupted, and they matter. A Luna's job isn't just to smile at galas and negotiate treaties. It's to care for every member of her pack, especially the ones who can't advocate for themselves. Noble sentiments, Opal said, her voice dripping with condescension. But sentiments don't qualify you to stand beside an alpha king. Then what does? Elisa challenged. What qualified Victoria? Her father's influence? Her perfect appearance? Those things didn't make her a good Luna. They made her a good actress. Ms. Payne, Roland said, leaning forward. Do you even understand what being Luna of Shadow Peak means? This isn't just a local pack. Gordon is Alpha King of this region. You'd be expected to host visiting dignitaries, negotiate social alliances, represent Shadow Peak at the Continental Council. Could you do that? I could learn. Learning takes time, and mistakes at that level have consequences. I'm aware. Elisa pulled out a folder she'd prepared. Which is why I've spent the past 3 weeks working with Elder Austin and the pack's senior advisors. This is a comprehensive proposal for Luna training, including diplomatic protocol, pack law, financial management, and social leadership. I've also included a reform proposal for pack social services, us with budget projections and implementation timelines. She slid copies across the table to each alpha. There was silence as they read through the documents. Elisa watched their expressions shift from skeptical to surprised to impressed. This is remarkably thorough, Carlton admitted grudgingly. The childcare proposal alone would revolutionize pack operations. It's based on models from 3 other successful packs, Elisa explained. I researched what works elsewhere and adapted it to Shadow Peak's needs. Evangeline, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. You did this in 3 weeks, while also training as a healer? Yes. How? I didn't sleep much, Elisa said honestly, and I had help. Marilou, Elder Austin, even some of the pack mothers who've been dealing with these issues for years. I listened to them. That's something I learned as a servant. The best information comes from the people actually doing the work. Rosalind, the warrior Luna, smiled slightly. I like her. You like her spunk, Nelson said dismissively. That doesn't mean she can handle the position. Actually, Austin interjected, I've been observing Ms. Payne closely. In the past 3 weeks, she's attended every council meeting, shadowed me during pack arbitrations, and sat in on budget reviews. She asks intelligent questions, she retains information, and most importantly, she cares deeply about getting it right. The twins adore her, Gordon added. They're thriving under her care. Their teachers say they're more confident, more social. Theo, who barely spoke before, now won't stop talking. Oliver's nightmares have stopped completely. Because she's good with children, Nelson argued. That doesn't make her Luna material. Doesn't it? Gordon's eyes flashed amber. A Luna's first duty is to the pack's future. Our children are that future. Victoria saw them as inconveniences. Elisa sees them as precious lives worth protecting. Which one sounds more qualified to you? Carlton sighed heavily. Alpha Gordon, we understand your position, but there's another concern we haven't addressed yet. What's that? The mate bond. You say it's real, that Ms. Payne is your true mate, but she hasn't completed the bonding ceremony. Her wolf hasn't even fully manifested yet. How can we be certain this isn't just infatuation? Gordon's jaw tightened. Esh, are you questioning my ability to recognize my own mate? We're questioning whether you're letting emotion override reason, Roland said. You're still recovering from Victoria's betrayal. You're vulnerable. This Omega saved your children, and you're grateful. That's understandable, but gratitude isn't the same as a true mate bond. I know the difference. Prove it, Nelson challenged. Complete the bonding ceremony. Let Ms. Payne's wolf manifest. If she truly is your mate, the pack will see it. The bond mark will appear. There will be no doubt. Elisa's stomach dropped. The bonding ceremony was intimate, sacred. It required the full manifestation of both wolves and for them to recognize each other. If her wolf wasn't strong enough yet, the ceremony could fail. Or worse, it could harm her. "No," Gordon said flatly. Elisa's wolf is still developing. Forcing the bond before she's ready could damage her permanently. I won't risk her for politics." "Then you can't ask us to accept her as Luna," Carlton said, not unkindly. "I'm sorry, Alpha Gordon, but this is how it has to be. Either prove the mate bond is real, or step back from this relationship until Ms. Payne is properly trained and ready." "That could take years." "Then it takes years," Roland said. "We're not saying you can't eventually mate with her, we're saying rushing into it is irresponsible." Gordon stood abruptly, his alpha power flooding the room. Everyone except Elisa flinched. "You have no authority to dictate my personal choices." "We have authority to question your fitness to lead," Nelson countered, standing as well. "And if you can't make rational decisions about something this important, how can we trust you with regional pack politics?" The room crackled with tension. Two alphas, both dominant, both on the edge of violence. "Stop," Elisa said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. She stood slowly, her heart pounding. "Gordon, they're right." "Elisa, no, listen. They're asking for proof, and that's reasonable. You're asking them to trust your judgment after Victoria. That's a big ask." She turned to the visiting alphas. "But forcing a bonding ceremony isn't the answer. My wolf isn't ready. Pushing it could kill me." "Then what do you propose?" Carlton asked. "Give me 6 months. 6 months to train, to prove myself, to let my wolf develop naturally. If at the end of that time you still have concerns, we'll revisit this conversation. But give me a fair chance." "And in those 6 months?" Roland asked. "I'll work as Luna in training. I'll implement my reform proposals, attend all council meetings, host pack events. You can evaluate my performance objectively." Evangeline nodded slowly. "That's actually reasonable. 6 months is enough time to see results, but not so long that we're enabling a mistake." The three alphas conferred quietly among themselves. Finally, Carlton spoke. 6 months, but with conditions. You'll report monthly to a review board consisting of pack elders and one representative from each of our packs. You'll complete formal Luna training with an approved instructor. And if at any point we determine you're genuinely unfit, you'll step down without contest. Elisa swallowed hard. "Agreed." "Elisa, you don't have to," Gordon started. "Yes, I do. This is the right way." She looked at him, willing him to understand. "I need to earn this. Let me." Gordon stared at her for a long moment, then slowly nodded. 6 months. But I'm choosing her instructor, someone I trust completely. "Fair enough," Carlton said. He extended his hand. "Ms. Payne, I hope you prove us wrong. I truly do." Elisa shook his hand. "I will." After the visiting alphas left, Gordon pulled Elisa into his private study. "You didn't have to agree to that," he said, pacing like a caged wolf. "I would have fought them and caused a political crisis. They would have called for a vote of no confidence. You might have lost your position as Alpha King." "I don't care about the position. I care about you. I care about you too, which is why I agreed." Elisa caught his hand, stopping his pacing. "Gordon, they were right. I need training, I need time, and honestly, I need to know I can do this job before we complete the bond." "You can do it. I know you can. But I need to know it, for myself. Not because you believe in me, but because I've proven it." She squeezed his hand. "Give me 6 months to become the Luna this pack deserves. Then, if you still want me, we'll complete the bond." Gordon pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. "If I still want you? Elisa, I'll want you until the day I die and probably beyond. 6 months, 6 years, 60 years. It doesn't change what you are to me." "Then you can wait 6 months." "I can wait forever if I have to, but I won't like it." Elisa laughed softly. "I'm not asking you to like it, just to trust me." "I do trust you. Completely." That evening, Elisa sat with the twins at dinner. Oh, they'd gotten into the habit of eating together in the nursery, just the three of them, though Gordon often joined when his schedule allowed. "Elisa?" Theo asked, pushing peas around his plate. "Are you leaving?" "No, sweetheart. Why would you think that?" "I heard the mean alphas. They said you're not good enough to be Luna." Elisa's heart clenched. "You were eavesdropping?" "Oliver made me do it," Theo said quickly. "Did not," Oliver protested. "You wanted to know what was happening too." "Boys," Elisa said gently, "those alphas weren't being mean. They were being careful. They want to make sure I can do the job properly before I officially become Luna. That's actually very responsible." "But you saved us," Oliver said fiercely. "That should be enough." "It's enough for me to earn a chance. But I still have to prove I can handle everything else that comes with being Luna. Does that make sense?" "I guess," Oliver mumbled. "But it's stupid. You're already the best. You think I'm the best because you love me, and I love you too. But the pack needs more than love. They need someone who can lead them, protect them, help them. I have to show them I can do that." "Will you have to go away?" Theo asked, his eyes filling with tears. "No, baby, I'll be right here. I'm just going to be very busy for the next 6 months, learning and training. But I'll still be here every night to read you stories and tuck you in. Nothing is going to change that." "Promise?" both boys said in unison. "I promise." After she got them settled in bed, Elisa went to find Mary Lou. The healer was in her cottage at the edge of the estate grounds, untending her medicinal garden. "I need to accelerate my wolf's emergence," Elisa said without preamble. 6 months isn't much time." Mary Lou looked up, unsurprised. "I heard about the meeting. You impressed them, from what I understand. But not enough. I need to be stronger, more capable. Your wolf will emerge when she's ready. Forcing it? I know, but isn't there something I can do? Some way to help her along?" Mary Lou studied her for a long moment. "There is one thing. It's called a spirit walk. You meditate deeply, journey inward, and meet your wolf face to face. Talk to her, understand her, convince her to come forward." "How do I do that?" "It takes preparation. Fasting, meditation, and a guide to watch over you while you're in the trance. It's not without risk. Some people never find their wolf. Others find her but can't convince her to merge." "When can we start?" Mary Lou smiled. "Tomorrow night, during the full moon. It's the best time for awakenings." The next evening, Elisa sat in a circle of candles in Mary Lou's meditation room. She'd fasted all day, drinking only water and herbal tea. Gordon wanted to stay with her, but Mary Lou had been firm. This was something Elisa had to do alone. "Close your eyes," Mary Lou instructed. "Breathe deeply. Focus on your heartbeat. Feel it slow, steady, strong." Elisa followed the instructions, sinking deeper into meditation than she'd ever gone before. And then, suddenly, she wasn't in the cottage anymore. She stood in a moonlit forest, silver light filtering through ancient trees. The air was cool and smelled of pine and earth. "Hello?" she called out. A rustling in the underbrush. Then, stepping into the moonlight, a wolf. She was beautiful. Smaller than an alpha wolf, but sleek and powerful, with silver-gray fur that shimmered in the light. Her eyes were the same green as Elisa's. "You're my wolf," Elisa breathed. The wolf sat down, watching her calmly. "I need you," Elisa said, stepping closer. "The pack needs us. Gordon needs us. The twins need us. Please, will you emerge? Will you merge with me?" The wolf tilted her head, considering. Then she spoke, her voice echoing in Elisa's mind. "You've been strong without me for so long. Why do you need me now?" "Because I can't do this alone. I'm not strong enough, not powerful enough. You saved 2 dying pups without me. You stood up to a Luna. You survived exile and neglect and still had kindness left in your heart. You are already strong. But not strong enough to be Luna?" "You're strong enough to be anything you choose to be." The wolf stood and walked closer. "But you're right. Together, we'll be stronger. I've been waiting for you to be ready. And now, finally, You are. What do you mean? You spent so long believing you were nothing, that you didn't deserve love or recognition or power. I couldn't emerge while you still believe that. A wolf needs a human who knows her worth, and now, you do. Elisa felt tears stream down her face. I'm ready. I'm ready to be whole. Then, let's begin. The wolf leaped forward, and instead of colliding with Elisa, she merged into her, a rush of sensation and power and completion. Elisa gasped, her eyes flying open in the meditation room. Marilu was staring at her in awe. Your eyes, they're glowing. Elisa looked down at her hands, as silver fur rippled across her skin, then receded. She could feel her wolf now, not separate but part of her. A presence in her mind, strong and sure, and finally free. I can feel her, Elisa whispered. She's here. Can you shift? Elisa didn't know, but she tried, reaching for that new part of herself. Pain lanced through her body as bones restructured, fur erupted from her skin. It was agonizing and exhilarating all at once. And then she was on 4 paws, looking up at Marilu from a wolf's perspective. She was smaller than an alpha wolf, yes, but she was strong, fast, powerful. She was whole. Marilu laughed with delight. Welcome, Sister Wolf. You're beautiful. Elisa shifted back to human form, the process easier this time. She was laughing and crying at the same time, overwhelmed with emotion. Gordon needs to see this, Marilu said. He needs to know. They found Gordon in his office, working late as usual. When Elisa walked in, he looked up and froze. Your scent, he said hoarsely. It's different, stronger. My wolf emerged. Elisa smiled, feeling powerful and confident in a way she never had before. She's here, Gordon. She's ready. Gordon was around the desk in an instant, pulling her into his arms. He buried his face in her neck, inhaling deeply. I can smell her. Pine and rain and something wild. Gods, Elisa, you're magnificent. I'm not ready for the full bonding ceremony yet, Elisa said. My wolf just emerged. She needs time to settle, but in 6 months... In 6 months, you'll be the strongest Luna this region has ever seen, Gordon finished. And I'll be the luckiest alpha alive. He kissed her then, for the first time. Not a chaste kiss on the forehead, but a real kiss. Deep and claiming and full of promise. And Elisa kissed him back, her wolf singing with joy at the contact. This was right. This was home. This was everything she'd never dared to dream of. 6 months to train, 6 months to prove herself, 6 months until the bonding ceremony that would make her his forever. She could hardly wait. Epilogue. 6 months later. The bonding ceremony took place under the full moon in the sacred grove at the heart of Shadow Peak territory. Every member of the pack attended, along with representatives from allied packs throughout the region. Elisa stood in the center of the grove, wearing a simple white dress. Her hair fell loose down her back, woven with wildflowers. She no longer looked like the frightened Omega who'd arrived at Shadow Peak Estate over a year ago. She looked like a Luna. The past 6 months had transformed her. She'd completed her formal training with honors. She'd implemented her social reforms, which had dramatically improved pack morale and efficiency. She'd mediated disputes, hosted diplomatic dinners, and won over even the most skeptical pack members. Yet the review board had unanimously approved her as Luna 3 weeks ahead of schedule. Now, finally, she was ready for this. Gordon stood across from her, bare-chested according to tradition, his eyes glowing amber in the moonlight. Behind him stood Oliver and Theo, both trying to stand still and look serious but failing miserably. Elder Austin presided over the ceremony. We are here to witness the bonding of Alpha Gordon Hansen and Luna Elisa Payne. 2 souls, 2 wolves becoming one. This bond cannot be broken except by death. It is sacred, eternal, and absolute. Do you both understand and accept these terms? I do, Gordon said, his voice carrying across the silent crowd. I do, Elisa echoed. Then shift and let your wolves complete what fate has begun. Elisa shifted, the process smooth and painless now after months of practice. And her silver-gray wolf stood in the moonlight, smaller but no less powerful than the massive black wolf that was Gordon's other form. The two wolves circled each other once, twice. Then Gordon's wolf lowered his head in submission, an alpha, bowing to his mate. Elisa's wolf stepped forward and touched her nose to his. The bond snapped into place like a lightning strike, visible to everyone present as silver and gold light exploded between them. When they shifted back to human form, matching marks appeared on their inner wrists, a crescent moon intertwined with a wolf's paw print. The bond mark, proof that this was real, fated, eternal. The crowd erupted into cheers and howls. Gordon pulled Elisa into his arms and kissed her deeply, not caring who was watching. "Mine," he murmured against her lips. "Finally mine. And you're mine," Elisa replied, feeling the bond thrumming between them, a connection that would last forever. Oliver and Theo broke free from Nanny Greta and ran to them, crashing into their legs. "Does this mean Elisa is officially our mom now?" Oliver asked hopefully. "If she wants to be," Gordon said, looking at Elisa. "I wanna be," Elisa said, kneeling down to hug both boys. "If you'll have me." "Yes," they both shouted, nearly knocking her over. As the pack celebrated around them, as the moon shone bright overhead, Elisa felt something she'd been searching for her entire life. She was home. She was loved. She was exactly where she belonged. And for the first time ever, she believed she deserved it. We've reached the end of this journey. Elisa forgave Gordon for not seeing her for 3 years. For letting Victoria's cruelty go unchecked. Some might say she forgave too easily. Others might say love means giving second chances. What do you think? Did Gordon deserve forgiveness? Or should Elisa have made him work harder to earn her trust? Let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely curious what you all think. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button before you go.